We have a 2001 Dodge Durango. We're going to go through the steps in order to replace the fuel pump. One of the first things you want to do before beginning the fuel pump repair is to bleed the pressure off the system. We'll do this with our pressure gauge and the relief valve. Be sure and capture any fuel that you bleed out of the system into a safe container. We always want to remove the negative battery cable before beginning the repair. In order to do a proper fuel pump replacement, we need to clean the inside of the tank, and that will require the removal of the tank. First, remove the fuel filler and vent hose. These can be difficult to remove at times due to the age of the vehicle. At the front of the tank, disconnect the emissions line from the carbon canister. Be sure and support the tank properly before removing the tank strap. There could possibly be some nylon straps that we will have to remove in order to remove the tank straps. These will not be reused when we reassemble the vehicle. With the tank straps removed, we can lower the tank slightly to gain access to the electrical connector and the fuel line connector. When disconnecting the electrical connector, be sure and slide the safety retainer to the right. The fuel line is retained by a pinch type connector. When disconnecting this fuel line, keep in mind there may be some residual fuel. Be sure and capture this into a safe container. Before we remove the fuel pump module, we want to be sure and thoroughly clean the outside of the tank. This will stop any extra debris from getting into the tank. With the outside of the tank clean, we're ready to remove the fuel pump module. We'll first remove the emissions line. We'll want to remove the fuel line retainer clip to be reused on the new module assembly. For ease of installation, we'll install the retaining clip into the fuel line. With the safety latch repositioned, we'll now take our non-ferrous brass punch and turn the locking ring counterclockwise. If when removing the locking ring you notice that it's warped or badly corroded, you'll need to replace that before reinstallation. Now that we've removed the locking ring, we're ready to remove the module from the tank. Keep in mind that the base of the module is a reservoir that will retain fuel. Be sure and capture this fuel into a safe container. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. Now that we've cleaned the inside of the tank and thoroughly dried it, we'll install the new Airtex fuel pump. We'll install the new tank seal onto the module assembly. When we install the pump into the tank, there's a locating tab on the pump module that lines up with an indentation on the tank. With the module in the tank, we're now ready to reinstall the locking ring. Be sure and use a non-ferrous brass punch and turn the locking ring clockwise. Be sure and fully rotate the locking ring into place, making sure the safety tab is engaged. Reinstall the emissions line. As you raise the tank into position, be sure and work the filler hose and the vent hose over the rear axle. With the tank partially raised into position, we'll reconnect our fuel line fitting, our electrical connection. Be sure and slide the safety retainer back into position. With the tank fully raised into position, and reinstall the tank straps, install the emissions hose at the front of the tank, and reinstall the fuel filler and vent hose at the rear of the tank. With the negative battery cable reattached, we'll cycle the key 3 to 4 times in order to recharge the system. Start the vehicle and monitor fuel pressure, making sure it's within vehicle specifications. Now before we remove our pressure gauge, we'll shut the vehicle off and bleed the pressure using our pressure gauge, making sure to capture any fuel into a safe container.